Let there be light and welcome to Living Essence. I am Siddhantarananda. Today I'm going to talk about where narcissism found its roots. And we really have to go back in time looking at the Western mindset of the dominator culture. You see, when we look at how history has unfolded, the dominator culture has been that mindset amongst countries and that social structure of having dominion over others. We've seen so many wars fought, and you can go back to the barbarians and Vikings, of where history shows that the dominator culture is where a society establishes itself upon the dominion of others. So we from there get slavery and misuse of people's labor and time, and the exploitation of a country's people. And so governments have been the root of, governments and priesthoods have been the root of narcissism. Because what narcissism is basically doing is taking someone else and taking their sovereignty from them, but in a way that makes that person feel that the government or priesthood is doing them a favor, is looking after their best interests. And this is the trick of the narcissist, is that if you're living in a narcissistic relationship, you come into this belief from what the narcissist projects upon you and how they treat you and how they create the atmosphere that you're living in, that they are doing you a favor, that they are the best thing for you. And so what happens is a dependency takes place, where, and it is a codependency as well, where the narcissist needs the person that they are abusing, and the one that's being abused also needs the narcissist. And this all comes down to belief systems. So the one that's being abused by a narcissist has this belief built within them that they need that narcissist in their life. And this is simply untrue. Now, where did they learn that from? Well, they learned it from culture. One of my favorite speakers and incredible intellect and incredible mind is Terence McKenna, and he coined this phrase that culture is not your friend. And culture is not your friend, because culture is the projection of society in which the narcissistic roots lie. Because what is society? Well, society is a structure under law, under some rules, under some guidelines and boundaries. So essentially, if you don't look at it with any kind of depth, you're having to give away your sovereignty to be part of society. Now, in a tribal culture, you don't have to always, depending on the tribe, you don't always have to give away your sovereignty in order to be part of the communion of the community. But under Western mindset and under the societal culture, we've been taught that the most primary thing, the most important thing, is that you are socially acceptable and that you do things that are socially right within that social structure. So there are laws placed that are blanketed laws. So it doesn't matter who you are, everyone just needs to keep to these laws. So personal morality goes out the door. As you're classed as moral and good if you stick to the rules laid down by society. Now, this is narcissistic in that the structure or the government is saying what is acceptable for a human being to do. So they are controlling the individual by making them by showing them what is acceptable for them to be part of a community. So it's conditional. Now, we talk about the power of unconditional love, but within a society, there is no unconditional love. There is simply conditions. As an individual, we need unconditional love. It's a part of the soul seek desire. Our soul yearns for unconditional love. You will not find it in culture of the societal structure. So this is where, as I said before, where does narcissism find its roots? Well, narcissism is all about controlling another person so that you can keep your system in place. A government has a system and a structure, and it keeps that system and structure by using the narcissistic controlling nature of taking your sovereignty away and telling you and getting you to believe that that's true. Hence, then you only feel like a good person if you're doing what the government says or the priesthood says is the right thing. When we look at the priesthood of Christianity, fear is one of the things that they use against their people to keep them in line. If you misbehave, if you commit, adultery, or if you steal, or if they bring up all these rules, all these things. The thing is, they bring it up into your awareness. If you do all these things, then you've sinned. You've fallen out of line with God. You've fallen out of communion with God. Here's a man. Here's men, or women for that matter. Here are simply people that are just made exactly like you, that are pushing upon you a belief system that if you don't keep that belief system, then you've fallen out of line with what's acceptable. This is what a narcissist does to the individual. You must stick within their parameters. Things must be done their way. But then they project it onto you that they make you feel like a bad person, that their way is actually, they're saying, oh, you're not keeping up to your end of the bargain here. So they make you feel that you're a terrible person. Now, a government doesn't have an emotion of its own. When you look at it, they're like that. They just have a baseline and you keep it. And people move up and down within that baseline. So it makes the government appear as if it has emotional connection. The narcissist does the same thing. A narcissist has no ability to have joy and no ability to really have low, depression, that sadness. Their emotional standing is like being on an antidepressant, where you're not feeling, you're neither up or down. But it is low vibration. Most people would be in a high vibration, but would be up and down, maybe come down to the levels of a narcissist at times, not being a narcissist themselves. So how a narcissist gains their emotional, what's the word I'm looking for here, is context, how they gain their emotional context, because you can't know sadness without happiness, and you can't know grief without love. You can't know love without grief. You can't know gain without loss. So for a narcissist, they have a person that they project that onto. They will make them feel a little bit good, and then they drop them all the way down. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the addictive nature of being abused by a narcissist. But really, I'm just showing you the roots at the moment. Where does narcissism come from? It comes from our social structure, and then it is bled out into some people. That you look at people that are narcissists, they do tend to really stick to the rules of their society, but they will be horrible emotionally to people. So they know how to work. They're very, very clever in that they work within the parameters of the law, but they find any kind of loophole to make anyone feel terrible, because they can't feel good themselves. Because they can't feel good themselves, they will drive people down, make them feel a little bit good, because the further the drop, the better they feel. So they have someone feel a little bit good about themselves, then they drop them, make them feel like they've done wrong, and they gaslight them, and they go all the way down, and the narcissist has the illusion that they feel good. So the roots of narcissism is found in the priesthood and government. That's where it comes from, and it's been bred into people. You see, a narcissist is not born. Society comes in and it tells us how to be, teaches us what we should do, and gives us our moral standing without allowing us to have our sovereignty and individual input into our own lives as to what's important and what's true. I'm sending you all so much love, and let there be light.